chat about it. We've had a few examples recently within the gaming industry, which I'll mention a little bit later on in the presentation, where we've provided options which didn't scare people off from price. And low budget does not always mean library music. Clear away from the library music, please. Now, what I thought, rather than listen to me talk all the way through or before I started into Oklahoma, I thought I'd give you a real world example of how we've helped out a producer in relation to music. From the advertising world, there's a recent ad for Virgin Mobile. The agency presented their campaign with all the visuals to the client with their piece of music. It's kind of like a world sort of folksy style song. You'll get to hear it in a second. The only problem was that the client hated the music. They wanted a little bit more commercial sound. They had limited budget, they had limited time, and they were looking at their agency, scratching their head saying, well, what do you do? This piece of music is not very good. Now, thus, we were presented with this and asked to come up with options.
Hey, what's going on? I don't know.
At Virgin Mobile, we believe in giving people more of what they want. That's why Virgin Mobile caps include free calls and texts 24/7 Virgin to Virgin, free voicemail, international calls and texts, and mobile internet allowance. Does your cap do that? Our new prepaid and postpaid caps do.
Alright, so after viewing that, we got the team together to put together some ideas. The cool hip A&R people that I mentioned, and even some of the dweeby guys like me, to see what we could come up with. And as part of these suggestions we put to them, there was an instrumental version of a recent single by, is a winner with both the agency and the client. I'll play you that now.
Hey, what's going on? I don't know.
At Virgin Mobile, we believe in giving people more of what they want. That's why Virgin Mobile caps give you free calls and texts 24/7 Virgin to Virgin, free voicemail, and include international calls and texts, and a mobile internet data allowance. Does your cap do that? Our new prepaid and postpaid caps do.
So we were creatively correct in this case. Josh Pyke is a local artist and ARIA award winner. Last two albums have been gold albums. Both copyrights, Mushroom Control, both copyrights. We turned it around within 24 hours and within their budget. Now the main reason, or the two reasons I mentioned this particular ad is, one, it was my suggestion of the song, so I was pretty happy with it. So the dweeby business guys come through. And the other thing was, it was all about the dialogue. If they hadn't come and spoken to us, they would have still had a situation where their agency wasn't happy with them. Where the client wasn't happy with the agency. It was all about the dialogue, which created the opportunity and made it work. Dialogue again. Sorry, Tony, I mentioned that word too much. Dialogue between the gaming industry and how it works. We can come up with additional options and ideas, but it only comes through interaction. An example of recent is dialogue between ourselves and local development company Firemint, who were putting together an iPhone game, and there was obvious terror when we were introduced. They were unfamiliar with our copyright world, and they were terrified of the price tag that might come along with it. They figured, I assumed that they figured that the dialogue was going to be a waste of time. The result of the dialogue is, when I wrote this presentation yesterday, was continued discussions as to licensing tracks for a forthcoming iPhone game project. Now, I actually got confirmation yesterday that they want to license 2 of our tracks to that game, but once again, it only came along from the dialogue. So, question time. If you're still awake, and if you're still thinking dialogue, Tony Reid tells me that people in the gaming industry love freebies.
No, Tony Reid likes freebies.
Same. So I have freebies for questions. Do you have any queries? And by all means, also ask them to the gentleman sitting in front of me there, Ian James, our Managing Director, because as I said, his music anecdotes are far better than mine. is hard to see from here. I'm not sure which hand went up first. Go for it.
Adrian, as an audio designer, I deal with this every day, basically. And one of the things I've noticed over the time is some of the things that you quite possibly have an issue with is that a lot of budgets, especially in Australia, where you usually do, the studios do work for hire, big publishers.
Yep.
And on any of the projects that I've worked on where they said, yep, here's a big budget, and you look and go, yep, that would be enough to do exactly what you're doing. And at the same time, I'll turn around and go, here's a big budget, and here's the music you're using. Because quite often they will define what they want. I've worked on projects big and small, where it's like, oh, we want you to do some sound effects because we've already licensed at our end. We've got a deal at our end. And so that's one issue with the fact that once you get to a project that's quite often got a big enough budget, the publisher has basically already sorted all that out, or it's tied into the film or whatever.
No problem. I mean, if it's already tied into a film, there's nothing much we can do, but this is more a question back to you now. Are there cases where you can have creative input into that where you say, hey, I'm not sure if that music actually works?
Okay, yes, very much so. There are times when we can sort of say, look, that won't necessarily work, whatever, and it does become a negotiation thing.
Yep.
But it is, I think it's a general, like for the industry as well, that the more money that somebody has invested in something you're doing, the more they feel they have a right to push.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But also one of the other things that is very different between film definitely and advertising certainly is the fact that in a lot of the games that we produce these days, there might be 40 hours of gameplay. So the requirement for music is massive. And so the idea of licensing a piece of music at $10,000 a pop for 40 hours, potentially to fill that 40 hours, unless you're doing something like GTA4, again, it can be difficult. Now, I'm not saying that licensing is not an option, because there's been times when, frankly, I actually talk to this stuff. There have been times when having access to that sort of stuff would be fantastic. But I'm just sort of, this is, from the past, these are some issues that we've had.
Once again, project to project, it's all about dialogue. Well, for a start, you mentioned that you've got to film 40 hours or something, and you can't afford the $10,000. Well, for a start, you come to us and say, I've got to fill some spots, but I don't have $10,000. What can we do? And it's not until you have that discussion that you can come up with ideas. And that the 5-minute example that I mentioned was a prime example where, even though this particular game we're talking about is for the world market, the development budget wasn't there from a music perspective.
What's the licensing situation though? Because if I license a piece of music for you, let's say Britney Spears, does that mean it's a worldwide license or an Australian only?
Part of us representing people for this territory, as part of those contracts, we are, with their permission, allowed to issue worldwide licenses.
But then that's going to have an incremental cost. That's going to cost you for sure.
Absolutely. So why are you using Britney Spears? No, that's where it comes back to. But yes, we can issue worldwide licenses for copyrights we represent for Australia and New Zealand. It's part of our conversation as to seeking clearance with the composer and the home publisher. But it's part of those contracts that we have in place is that we can issue those licenses for a worldwide license. Congratulations, you want us to see that.
Yeah, many of your artists think about this custom tracks.
Absolutely. A lot of dance composers, a lot of you'll find in the film world, also in the advertising world, that there's a lot of songwriters, recording artists who are actually doing music for those specific projects, and there's definitely composers who haven't created games. Because they've got a lot of time on their hands. Southern bands, so I'm not sure if you noticed, but they just perform late at night and not during the day. So, and look, a lot of the guys have got, they record demos, etc. at home. They've got decent setups at home, so anything's possible. And a lot of them just, they play games. I'm hoping they're not all learning their guitar skills from Guitar Hero though, because I'm not sure if that's taking our artists in the right direction, but absolutely possible.
I think in the Australian market, it is such a require even as much as having to use tracks for games, they certainly want to get back to music later in the process. So we do need to come to the adjustment and say, shift this around and go like guitar, stuff. So we need that flexibility.
Prime example of Tony Ginone was talking about Australia, the movie before, one of our composers was actually